It's been confirmed 2 people have died in horrific fires in the New South Wales town of Cobargo on the South Coast. The father and son were residents of the town. Police say they stayed at the property to protect it overnight and their bodies were found by a family member this morning. A third person is missing near Narooma. He is feared to have also died in the fires affecting the New South Wales South Coast. To make matters worse for fire crews, it's expected that all telecommunications will be lost in the area tonight. In Victoria, more than 4,000 people were earlier trapped at Malakuta Beach in the East Gippsland region. In better news, the wind change has gone through the town and the fire has bypassed it. Cheers were reported down on the beach due to that present fire danger passing. We are, though, starting to get scenes of devastation from the Gippsland area. These pictures out of Clifton Creek in Gippsland, where the primary school has sadly been destroyed. Firefighters from both states, meanwhile, are mourning the loss of New South Wales RFS volunteer Samuel McPaul, who died when a horrific fire tornado flipped his truck near the border. Bega Showground has been transformed into a makeshift campsite for hundreds of displaced residents and travellers, and that's where we find our reporter Trudy McIntosh. Trudy, take us through the latest of what's happening there.
Well, Charlotte, it's certainly been a very trying day for so many people here on the New South Wales South Coast. Behind me, we're at the Bega Showground. This is where hundreds of people have been evacuated from right around this area, as so many of these coastal towns and campsites have been absolutely in the line of fire today. Inside the building behind me currently, the Bega Valley Mayor is currently providing a briefing to people who have been staying here today, giving an update on the conditions in the area. It's not going to be broadcast, it's being private for, obviously there has been such sad news. We've seen just 40 kilometres north here at the town of Cobargo, 2 people losing their lives as a result of that fire which just ripped through that small town earlier this morning. 2 men believed to be a father and a son dying as a result of those fires. Also fears for a separate man in the town of Nowra who was believed to be attempting to save fire from taking hold of his home when he's now believed to have also been killed as a part of these fires. He was part of the update we heard from authorities a short time ago.
Police have been in the last few hours able to get into Cobargo, into this house that's just west of Cobargo, and have unfortunately found 2 men in there deceased. That's of course a tragedy for their family and friends and the greater community of Cobargo, and our thoughts certainly are with those people. The 2 men at Cobargo are residents of Cobargo, a father and son, as we believe. A very tragic set of circumstances. We continue to try and make our way to a property, to a house that is west of Narooma, where unfortunately we think that the news there will not be good either, with an elderly man in that location that's been reported to us earlier today.
Trudy, I've been watching this afternoon your live crosses. It doesn't look quite as red there as it has looked in the past few hours. Is it starting to clear a little bit, the sky?
Well, it's certainly not clearing, but earlier in the day it was much more ominous skies here in Bega. All day, though, there's certainly not been any sign of any blue sky. It hasn't been windy. That's southerly change, which was spoken about by the Bureau, moved through a lot earlier today. It's pretty still here, which would be good news for some of these firefighters. But in terms of, Charlotte, what to expect as we head into tonight, we have been told by New South Wales Police that we need to be expecting power outages right from up north in Nowra all the way down through Bateman's Bay, down to the town of Moruya. Quite a significant power outage there. That's not just taking out power in your home, internet, phone lines, and also we've been told hospitals will be affected by that. I've also seen reports in the last hour or so, Southern New South Wales Health saying that serious burn patients have been taken and that a premature baby at the hospital of Bega is awaiting evacuation to go to a hospital in Sydney, but because of the level of smoke, it has simply been too difficult to get that baby out for care in another hospital, Charlotte.
Yeah, really confronting scenes, and of course so important for anyone who is in those areas to make contact while they do still have telecommunication with anyone that might be wondering if they are okay. Trudy, we will move to a slightly lighter note. It is New Year's Eve. How are spirits holding up there?
Well, certainly you can hear a bit of cheering behind me from inside the hall, and from all the residents and holidaymakers that you do talk to here at this showground, there has been pretty relatively high spirits. People have obviously spoken, some of them knowing the people who have been killed in this fire just north of Bega, but many others who are just holidaymakers here talking about they do want to in fact try and enjoy the new year, as hard as that may be.
Yeah, I think that's the great Australian spirit, always trying to make the best of any situation. Thanks for the update there, Trudy. The New South Wales firefighting community is mourning the death of a young volunteer killed in a freak bushfire incident. Samuel McPaul died just 5 months before his first child was due.
A young life taken as it was just beginning.
He leaves behind, tragically, a beautiful wife, Megan, who is pregnant with their first child that's due on the 4th of May.
28-year-old Samuel McPaul had been battling the Green Valley blaze in southern New South Wales when he and 2 other members of his crew were overtaken by a fire tornado. Cyclonic winds lifted their 10-ton truck into the air and flipped it.
To lose one of our own in such extraordinary circumstances is tragic, and the tragic is just an understatement.
Crew members stayed with the truck until Mr McPaul could be freed, but he couldn't be saved. The Premier and Prime Minister paying tribute to his sacrifice.
The RFS has lost another member of its family, a young man fighting fires in his local community, died in very, very difficult circumstances, and I can't express enough our sympathy and condolences to his family, his loved ones.
To Megan, his wife this morning, and extended mine and Jenny's deepest sympathies and condolences for her terrible loss. Sam and Megan were expecting their first child next year. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
And the fire he died fighting is still burning out of control.
That fire is still not contained, and firefighters are continuing to work right throughout the night to bring that fire under control.
A southerly change is moving through the region towards Sydney, whipping up a new challenge for firefighters as fire fronts are pushed north. The Weather Bureau is predicting milder conditions over the coming few days, but crews will be in a race against time. Temperatures and winds are forecast to pick up again this weekend.
Every fire front is a threat to life, is a threat to people's life as they know it. We ask everybody to please heed the warnings of the experts, please heed the warnings of the RFS and the emergency alerts that you're receiving.
Rochelle Murdoch, Sky News.
4 people are unaccounted for in Victoria's east as 8 fires burn at emergency level. In East Gippsland, thousands of hectares have been burned out and dry lightning storms continue to cause problems.
From the far east to the northern border with New South Wales, Victoria is burning.
In Victoria today, we still have a dynamic and dangerous fire situation.
More than 400,000 hectares have been burned in East Gippsland, where the worst of the fires are. 4 people remain unaccounted for, with grave concerns for their safety. Tragic stories are already emerging about lost homes and livelihoods, the flames even claiming Clifton Creek Primary School. 43 structures have been confirmed as destroyed, with that number only expected to grow.
That's 19 structures at Sarsfield. At Buchan, there's 24 structures.
In Mallacoota, 4,000 people fled to the beach to escape the flames. Thankfully for them, the worst is now over.
Relatively good news here since we last spoke, and that is that Mallacoota, the wind change has gone through and it's now bypassed that town. So I understand there was a public cheer down at the jetty when that was announced.
Corryong near Albury-Wodonga also managed to avoid the worst but remains surrounded and isolated. There are new concerns. Dry lightning has sparked over a dozen new fires around Jamison.
Overnight, there's definitely milder conditions, but again, our firefighters will remain vigilant, as our communities will need to remain vigilant.
The ADF has now been called in, and a contingent of 40 defence personnel will arrive on the fire ground tomorrow to assist with providing supplies to towns running low on food and water and evacuating those who are at risk.
At the same time, if we need to get people out, how could that be done? And C is an option that they're considering at the moment.
While conditions are forecast to be cooler and generally more mild over the next few days, they are expected to flare up again over the weekend, with Saturday expected to be a spike day, highly dangerous for firefighters. At the State Control Centre, Patrick Murrell, Sky News, Melbourne.
Naval vessels will be among the defence equipment deployed to assist communities stranded by bushfires in Victoria's East Gippsland region. Navy vessels, as well as a fleet of aircraft, including Black Hawk and Chinook helicopters, are fixed-wing aircraft as well, will be immediately deployed. The Navy vessel will be able to approach land and beaches to potentially evacuate people after the fires ravaged the East Gippsland. An emergency warning has been issued for a bushfire burning in Tasmania's north. The bushfire is burning out of control northeast of Tower Hill, southeast of Launceston. Authorities say the fire will put the town at very high risk within 2 hours. Embers are proving a threat, with authorities warning residents to leave now if it's safe to do so. Smoke and ash will also make it difficult to see and